Hello. You're asking, what is D&D? Well, D&D stands for Dungeons and Dragons. What is it, though? It's a tabletop role-playing game, but what does that really break down to? What it basically means is you get to play fantasy and pretend with a bunch of friends in a relatively safe environment. Now, there's a whole bunch of things that go into this, and the whole idea behind what we're going to be doing here is getting you acclimated to having the ability to create your characters and just have a great time playing the game. So, let's jump in. What is it? It's a tabletop role-playing game. We've established that. It means you get to pretend in a fantasy or whatever kind of setting is preferred. There's sci-fi, there's medieval, there's fantasy, there's all kinds of things out there. You just have to find the right version. The other part, you have to find the people to play with. Now, how do you play the game? It's simple, but at the same time, it can be very frustrating. It's simple because you use dice. It's frustrating because of those same dice. Most of it comes down to this guy, which is your D20. Now, this one's been pretty good to me, and that's the only reason it's being shown here. To start off, you have to make a character. Okay, in your head, start asking yourself, what do I want to be? Do you like to be that upfront, in the face of everything, taking the hits, but also dealing out those massive hits, sword and board kind of thing? Or do you find yourself being more of a, I'm going to be in the back, shooting bows, casting spells? Maybe you want to be the kind who comes along and, oh, you're hurt, so you get a spell, you get a heal. That can be a thing. All of these are available, and it's just a matter of what it is that you prefer. So, typically, you start going on, and before you've even picked out like a race or a species, as it is 2025, you roll a few of these, or you can do what's known as a point buy system. I'll jump into that on a later date. But what I usually use, what I try and get other people to use, is roll 4 of these, which are D6s, and you roll 4 of them, you take the 3 highest, and you drop the lowest one. So let's say with a typical roll, you're getting, say, 4 4s. Great. You put 12 points into a specific category for your class. Now, we jump into classes. That's a whole big separate thing. I'm going to try and do a breakdown for a class and subclass as time goes on. And there are a bunch of classes and there are a bunch of subclasses. The whole idea is that you can start having that kind of starting point to go, this sounds interesting to me, maybe I can jump into this. Or maybe you hear this and go, that one doesn't really work for me, now I know what to avoid. The whole idea is you're gathering at a table or online, especially nowadays, with friends who are like-minded. They're sitting there, they want to have a good time just like you. Now, the game is led by one person, that's usually called the DM. As you may have noticed, I'm the DM dad. That basically means I've fallen into the role because I played the game a couple of times. I enjoyed it so much, I said, I'm going to keep this going. And I jumped into it. Next thing I know, I'm a DM for, I've lost count of how many games I am the DM for. But, moving on. The races, species, that's one thing to think of. And we'll get into that again. The other one is classes. And there's a bunch. There's barbarians, there's bards, there's clerics, druids, fighters, monks, paladins, rangers, rogues, sorcerers, warlocks, wizards. Recently, there are what's known as artificers. That's a whole different ball of wax. You can watch things like Critical Role, and that'll get you going and go, oh, this is kind of what the game is like. But I'm going to tell you, Matt Mercer does a great job. Not every DM is going to be Mercer. It's what's known as the Mercer effect. You watch them and you go, oh, that's what the game is supposed to be like. Not every game is going to be like that. Not every game is going to have those fun tiles that he brings out. Sometimes it's theater of the mind where you have to imagine everything that goes on. Sometimes there will be some things drawn out for you. Sometimes maybe the DM is good and he's able to paint the picture with nothing on the table. Then again, maybe the DM is still good, but he likes to use, or they like to use, 3D printed tables. Things that can interact with your little minis. It's all about immersion. How much are you willing to imagine, and how much is the DM willing to tell you? Now, as we continue on in this, there's going to be some things that I'm going to post up here of food as well. It's all about making sure that everything is fun. Is everyone going to be able to come to the table, have a drink, something to eat, things of that nature? The things that can all bring us together. For me, a game and storytelling is fantastic, but what also brings us all together is food. So, at the end of what I'm going to call these rants, we'll go in and we'll jump into some things that can be made either in your home or that can be made for a group setting. I have a fun idea for the one coming up. It's pretty simple, but it's also pretty good. So if you're curious to see how this goes, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.